I'm going to call this video the Musical Tower of Babel Clef System. It's about the idea that it often seems like every instrument uses a different clef. And the reason is that somehow we have inherited an insanely complicated system of rules and traditions that developed over a vast musical history. Without understanding this long development of musical notation, you can't possibly understand how things got to where they are today. This story is endlessly complex, but also very fascinating. Let's start this video off by doing a fast review of 5 C clefs that advanced music students are expected to master. All of these clefs used to be used in choral music, so if you ever want to conduct a chorus, you will have to learn these clefs. Here is the soprano clef. I think of this one as the Bach clef. Here is the mezzo-soprano clef. I don't have any other name for this, but it is used for older choral music among other things. Here is the alto clef. I think of this as the viola clef. This is still used today for viola, although it used to be used for other things, so it is very important. Now here is the tenor clef. I think of this as the cello clef, but it is also used for bassoon and trombone. This is also used today, so it is again very important. And finally, here is the baritone clef. For the most part, you will not see this except in much older music. All of these C clefs tell you where middle C is. In addition to C clefs, there are also G clefs and F clefs. In this video, I'm going to use a red circle to show you how we link to that G. The G indicated is always directly over middle C. The only G clef that is used frequently in modern music is the treble clef. For F clefs, I made 2 dots orange to show us where the F is. F is always between those 2 dots. It is always directly under middle C. And the only F clef that is used frequently in modern music is the bass clef. Now comes the rabbit hole. Every G clef, F clef, and C clef could also be written as any of these other clefs, although it is usually not done. Let's start off with an odd clef that I just started exploring this week called the French clef or the French G clef. The French clef is an old clef that tells us that the first line is G, but if we write that same idea using a C clef, we get exactly the same result. This other form does not exist as a G clef, so far as I know, but if you are writing by hand, you could certainly use it as well. So I'm throwing out the possibility just for discussion. The treble clef tells us that the second line is G. This is the G clef that most of us are familiar with, but if we rewrote this idea as a C clef, it would still describe the same system. And again, I am showing this to you just for the purpose of discussion. The soprano clef shows that the bottom line is C, but if we rewrite this idea so that it is a G clef, meaning that line 3 is G, then C is still the first line. Once again, I am showing you something that does not exist, but if you were writing by hand, it would look just fine. We could do the same thing for the mezzo-soprano clef, the alto clef, and the tenor clef. But I'm not going to show you these possibilities because it would make this video too complicated. But the baritone clef actually exists as both a C clef and an F clef. When it is a C clef, the top line is a C. When it is an F clef, the third line is F. Notice that both forms do not change the names of any of the lines or spaces. And you want to remember that both these versions are really used interchangeably. Finally, the bass clef is when an F clef puts F on the fourth line. And this is the only F clef we usually see. Notice that we could rewrite this idea as a C clef. I'm not recommending doing it. I'm simply pointing out that it would be possible and by no means illogical. Finally, going down for one theoretical dive, here is the viola clef as it is normally written, combined with what it would look like as both a G clef and an F clef. Only the viola clef exists as a real clef, but the other 2 visualizations I made with a graphics program show you that all 3 of these systems are possible. Wow, that was quite a rabbit hole. But I think that if you can follow what I have shown you, it might make your understanding of how these clefs work much deeper. Exploring all these things certainly helped me because I don't have to deal with all these exotic clefs often enough to get really good at them. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Leave me comments about anything you like, comments about anything you'd like to see in the future, and remember that I consider all suggestions.